Hey guys, so just going to do a quick little track walkthrough here at Fuji with the Veloster. So we'll go over the track temp. It's 31C. This is just booted up through the league session. Um, Third lap into the stint, 49.1 is where I was at. I ran a low fuel, like 17 liters, so this is basically like a qualifying simulation. So it's not third lap in from like a 40-liter tank. So this is, pretty um, a pretty good representation of what pace will be like. So we'll start off going into turn one. First thing we'll be looking at is the number boards on the left hand side. Your braking zone. You see you have the 250, 200. Always be looking at the 150. Even if you're going for a pass on somebody, instead of looking at the cars around you, I'd recommend, obviously keep a peripheral on the cars around you. But how I go about it, if I'm passing somebody inside, outside of T1, I have them in my peripheral, but my eyes are looking at this 150 because missing a braking zone, running into the back of somebody, or even under braking when going for a pass is pretty detrimental. So I like to keep cars in my peripheral until I see this 150 mark. I'm keeping an eye on my braking zone. So it's going to be pretty much as your car passes. Let's see. Basically right at the 150 mark. So you're going to be hitting the brake pedal right right at the 150 mark, but in the cockpit, it's kind of like, it's almost like you're past it. So then heavy braking, pretty much maxing it out 80, 90%. If you do get on the ABS, 100%, it's not the end of the world. Turn-in point, it's kind of in the no man's land. It's after the 50 marker. I'm just looking at this cone, and when the setting looks right, that's how I know when it's time to turn in. Just the angles of everything. I'm just kind of generalizing where I may or may not be at for my turn-in, but like always, heavy braking on turning, and then the second that you start feeding wheel, start letting off the brake pedal. If you have this amount of brake pedal, but this amount of wheel in it, you'll always get a little bit of a flat slide. So all the way down to first gear, what you're going to want to do is prioritize getting on throttle pre-apex. So you can run through this cone. Basically, I think if your inside tire touches the grass, that's an off track. But you can almost touch that cone. Try and get full throttle as soon as you can. So if you notice here, it's very slight, but watch my throttle application. You see how I kind of keep it at 80, and then I go up to 100. If you just immediately go to 100, you'll break the tires loose, especially on these long exit turns. The thing about this track is every turn is kind of a long exit. There's no real short exit out of turns. So every time it's going to be really patient with your throttle application to not get that wheel spin. So now I think the trickiest turn on the track, technically turn 3, but it's really turn 2, whatever you want to call it. Brake at like the 75 meter mark. I think that's pretty much where I'm at. Maybe 100. It's closer to 100. Again, see me peak braking, and then immediately off the brake pedal. A little bit of bobble. So I want to talk about this little steering wheel bobble here and the relationship that it has with the brake pedal. You can kind of see when the bobble starts. So there I have a lot of brake pedal in it, and then see I feed the wheel when I still have that brake stab, and then I get that little, see the car trajectory is just sliding a whole lot. Down to fourth gear, you can take more of this than I did here. Like you can pretty well cut, I think you can cut that more. I don't really remember, and I don't have a lap this stint to compare. So this is where you can pick up an easy off track. I think if your left tire is a little bit over this white line, it's funny because here you can be over the white line, but if you're over the white line up here when the rumble strips end, then it's an off track. That's why you have to get back over. So we'll go into cockpit view for around this turn. So fourth gear, leave it in fourth gear on this whole turn. this is just going to be kind of feeling it out. There's not really any brake markers, lifting markers. It's all just going to be maximizing the momentum based off of the feel of the steering wheel, your force feedback with the steering wheel, making sure that the wheel's not getting too light. If the steering wheel starts getting a little light, then you're probably trying to go too fast through the middle of the turn. You need to let off the brake pedal, scrub a little brake. If you're oversteering, you're probably using too much brake pedal to try and get that front end to bite. So if you notice, just watch pedal play here. You're just constantly finding the balance of the turn. Every single lap, this turn is going to look different. For me personally, I don't have like, oh, this is exactly what I do. It's kind of just what the fuel load, the tire wear. Just modulate that throttle brake pedal, but you want to maximize your momentum. You can go down to third gear through the last apex here. Get down on the little rumble strip. Full throttle as soon as you can. Get on over. Brake marker about the 75 meter mark. Maybe closer to 60. Whatever it is. Again, heavy braking in a straight line. And then again, you notice anytime I turn the steering wheel, let off the brake pedal. It's like a pulley. If you're on one, you're off the other. If you're on one, you're off the other. Down to second. You can cut more of that. Like you can have your right tire, I think, inside the white line. So I probably lost a little bit of time this lap because of that. Again, you want to be on throttle as soon as you can. And it's the same throttle application as turn one. See, I have the little bit of throttle in it, and then I go full throttle when I know that the car can grip. Another off track could be out here, but it's not too bad. Brake marker for this turn is right here. Right where these... Oh, is that not it? So basically it's where the tip of this line disappears across through the front of my hood. That's what I use every time. It's going to be different for everybody, so I would recommend using something like that. Because you have such a broad area, you do have braking markers on the inside, but it's hard to tell where those are actually at. So I recommend trying to pick one of these and a reference point off of a component of your car, whether it's an A-frame, front hood, windshield, whatever you want to do. Very similar to turn one, heavy braking. Down to first gear, heavy trail braking. You don't want to cut. We'll do this little number. Get rid of that guy. So here you can see, yeah. So we'll wait till we get to the apex here. So down to first gear at this point. See how much of the curb I'm on? I'm already full, like I'm already adding throttle. Like before the apex, I'm on throttle. Late apex, see the trajectory of my car, the trajectory of my wheel. I want to be, we'll angle this down a little bit. Never mind, can't do that. Here we go. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get my car here so that way I can be as well set up for this turn as I can be. Here I grab a short shift into second, so first gear, full throttle, little lift, no braking. Short shift into second, take the curb, and then you want to cut this as much as you can without getting it off track. I think that's pretty much as you can cut it without grabbing it off track. So now up to third. I wonder if I'll save that camera at some point. I don't like going all the way out there because yes, you can go wider with it, but just it doesn't really help you going that wide because then that's so much more angle. Unless you go like out here, then go that way. The angle of your car, if I go out there, the angle of my car is more pointed this way than it is towards the turn. So even though I'm not technically in an optimal line, it's not worth going that wide. So down to second, and little bits of trail braking here. Like there's no real braking zone. It's just a trail brake to keep the front tires in it. Then here, throttle as soon as you can. Again, modulate throttle because if it is off camber, and off camber you do have these curbs that you don't want to hit. I've not broke a car over them yet, but you just don't really want to hit them. So up to third here, I like to straight line brake. I kind of dime it off the turn. So you notice I'm pretty tight. Like I'm tighter than what you kind of where the rubber line is. Because my goal here is to try and straight line brake from here to here as much as possible. So I want to keep, because if you're straight line braking, you have more braking potential. You can brake a little bit later, and then you can really rotate the car at the end of it if you have some momentum. So I'm like half trail braking, half slowing down. It's like 20% braking pressure in it. Keep that in it the whole time. And then down to second gear, you can go first. I should be tighter around here, like I should turn in a little earlier. Full throttle as soon as you can grab it. Then here's kind of the same thing. I like to straight line brake. I like making this into a hairpin instead of a sweeper. I like making this into a hairpin. So then we'll just watch a full lap here in the cockpit view. So that's a lap around Fuji. See y'all tonight.